Here's part of that geospatial technology competency model. I encourage you to take a look at this and find out where your own gaps are, and then how are you going to fill those gaps? Is it a massive open online course? Is it a certificate program at a college? Is it in some other way? Lessons.arcgis.com. There's lots of ways to gain more information. The University of Denver and I just put out a course on edX called Digital Earth. That's another way of gaining knowledge. So start with the personal effectiveness competencies at the bottom. Are you ethical? Are you organized? Can you deal with data? I love this GTCM. It was created by a group of people I'm working with at the community college level called the geotechcenter.org. And I come back to this from time to time. I encourage you to do the same. Where are your gaps? Is it at academic competencies, workplace competencies, personal effectiveness competencies, etc.? And then how are you going to fill those gaps? So come back to this periodically in your own journey forward. Quiz time using ArcGIS Online. Let's think spatially here, and let's, in the following context, let's do that with a short quiz. Okay, shall we? Okay, a multiple choice quiz about the Earth. Now, you may say, hey, Joseph, I thought you were trying to get us away from this memorization stuff and this geographic thought and spatial technologies presentation that you're talking about right now. Yes, these quizzes have their place, and bear with me, this is why I think this is important. So this is a quiz I've set up in ArcGIS Online where I'm going to show you one slide, and you're going to think spatially. The point is you're thinking spatially as you're going through each one of these. So, for example, is this Victoria Falls, Angel Falls, or Niagara Falls? When you thinking spatially, you're thinking, okay, what's the vegetation like there? This is all in ArcGIS Online set up. You've got ArcGIS Online at your own fingertips as well. Take a look at, what do I know about these falls? That doesn't look like Niagara Falls. I've been there. Okay, what if I zoomed out a long ways? Now I'm going to get some regional context. Ooh, look at that river there. Look at that landscape. Okay, this is in Africa. It is Victoria Falls, and indeed it is. So scale matters. Scale helped us understand the answer, but also looking at land use, land cover, population, etc. Is this Aconcagua, Argentina, Arenal, Costa Rica, or Kilimanjaro, Tanzania? Well, for the moment, and this may change, of course, with climatic trends, but right now Kilimanjaro is snow-capped, at least part of the year, and part of it is snow-capped. This doesn't have any snow on it. There's also some active landslide scars, so it's an active volcano, and I'm going to say it's Arenal. It is Arenal. I know the answers to these. I created the quiz. But the point is, you're thinking about spatial patterns. Here, urban rivers. What do I know about London, Paris, Hamburg? This winding river here, if it was London, right, I'd see the coast a little bit closer. I'd see the eastern part of the inlet for the English Channel off to the east of London. I don't see that here. And also I'm seeing this regional sort of local aerial, from the aerial, this radiating pattern of streets, which is very unique to a place like Washington, D.C. and Paris. So it is Paris. Here's the Eiffel Tower. You can see the shadow right there. And there's part of the tower right there. So it is Paris, and you're looking at land cover, you're looking at patterns, relationships, and trends. Let's do one more. What about glaciation? Norway, New Zealand, or Iceland? Okay, well, I'm going to look at these valleys. If it was, there's two of these, and they're in the northern hemisphere, right? Iceland and Norway. It looks like all of the snow is on the south-facing slopes. Here's this river valley. Here's on the south-facing slope. So it's got to be New Zealand because the snow cover is on the south-facing slopes. And indeed, it is New Zealand. Let's go ahead and zoom out so you can get some context. And there's the South Island, and there's the North Island coming in New Zealand. I promise that was the last one. Let's just do one more. Gobi, the Arabian, or the Sahara Desert. Okay, what do I know about all three deserts? The extent, the shape, the size, etc. We've got some mountains off here to the north of this one. We also have some mountains off to the southwest of this one. And we don't have any mountains off to the east side of this one. And if I zoom way in, I'm going to see some pretty significant sand dunes here. Wow, look at that. That is fascinating. And that is indeed the Gobi Desert. The Gobi Desert just north of Tibet. Fascinating. So we have a presentation here that I hope was encouraging, but also getting you to think spatially, but also that you can create your own similar kinds of quizzes in ArcGIS Online as I'm doing here. Thanks for going through part of that quiz with me using ArcGIS Online. A tool, again, it's a software as a service, geographic information system running online, and I've curated a quiz here so you can start thinking about patterns, relationships, and trends. Tools to foster geoliteracy. We've used number 5 here, ArcGIS Online. There are data sets, there are lessons on things like temperature extremes, the Serengeti Road that I've written, Ada Blackjack, explorer of the Arctic, population change, land cover change, analyzing tornadoes, or for that matter, hurricanes, floods, all sorts of weather events, earthquakes and other natural hazards, story maps, multimedia, interactive, web-based mapping applications, feature services that you can edit and also create data in the field on noise, dangerous intersections, skateboard parks, tree species, water quality, soil moisture, graffiti, etc. in your walkability in your community, etc. So that's all under ArcGIS Online. There's also Gapminder from Hans Rosling. I love Gapminder, showing you change over space and time with a series of compelling graphs on population change, birth rates, life expectancy, etc., going back 200 plus years with multiple countries represented. World Mapper, cartograms, I'm going in reverse order here, cartograms. The Urban Observatory, looking at cities and comparing variables, senior population, land cover, parks, etc. And also the Change Matters viewer, and really recently updated into the Landsat Explorer app, which you can look at 40, 50 years of Landsat data, satellite imagery for the planet at multiple scales, looking at changes in tree cover, in urbanization, in glacial retreat or advance, deforestation, reforestation, etc. Also the Landsat Lens, looking at little snapshots, little tiles of imagery over the last 30 years. Those are all wonderful tools to foster geoliteracy. The most important tool, though, is this tool right here, your brain. Your brain. Your brain is the one that you should nurture and you should pay attention to. These tools, the geotechnology tools, are there. They're powerful. They're easy to use. But they change over time. And so you need to kind of embrace the whole lifelong learning modality. But also, they all require this tool. Geospatial technology has always been a thinker's tool. That's what's always been appealing to me as an educator, that you have to use your brain to make sense of the patterns, relationships, and trends, to pick out the patterns, relationships, and trends. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of points, lines, polygons, and images on your screen. Okay? Citizen science with editable feature services. You're going out, as you see in the upper right here, I went out with a group of educators collecting tree data, tree species, tree height, tree condition, data in a park, mapping it, and then looking at the patterns. Are certain kinds of tree in trouble on this slope, and why? Are they not getting enough water? Are they stressed for some reason? Whatever. Do they have an invasive species, some sort of pine beetle or whatever? Data is being fed in real time to one common web map in these. You can change the base map, as I've done in the lower left there, looking at these tree species. And here another project, but similar in scope, where educators, with me and a couple of others leading them, went into a section of an urban area and looked at trees, fire hydrants, light poles, street signs, historical buildings, etc., and mapped that, and then, submitted this to, you could submit this to the city council saying, hey, here's a historical district of the city, we've mapped all the infrastructure, and many times cities do that already, but sometimes they're lacking, human power, they're lacking staff, and so having citizens collect data, community science, citizen science, crowdsourcing, whatever term you want to use to describe it, it is a thing. It's not just this, but it's also bird watching. It's analyzing trees. It's looking at the best places in town to site a business or to site a new park, urban greenways, etc. So being able to do this with modern geographic information systems, all collecting data at the same time, we've collected thousands of points within a few hours with this group of educators. Now, I have a picture here of a doorstop. It is a formerly valuable part of someone's computer architecture. It's an old Mac from 1985-ish. Some of you may recognize one of these things. It weighed a decent amount, and so therefore it makes a good doorstop. The point is, the technology changes, right? The tools change. This is still the most important tool of all. So I'm using this photo to nudge you forward into, don't get overly locked into, I've got to use this tool and this version of this tool. Use these tools. Don't get overstressed about what version it is. Use the most appropriate tools to accomplish your goals as an educator, as a learner, as a geospatial technology professional, etc. This is the perfect time for spatial thinking in education and society because of these three trends. There's a growing awareness of complex global issues that increasingly affect our everyday lives, like I've talked about earlier. Invasive species, energy, water, human health, political instability, etc. There's also a general public use of geotechnologies. How many of you have a fitness app? How many of you have used a rideshare? Who's eaten yesterday? That supply chain, what you had to eat, was influenced by geospatial technologies, was enabled by geospatial technologies, and many more, right? Finding your way across campus or to your grandmother's house or to another city, or choosing places on vacation based on a web map. You're using geospatial technologies, so the general public is actually using these tools increasingly. Tracking a package that's delivered to your house, etc. There's so many more examples. The power that you're using right now to watch this video, that was all generated through utility companies using geospatial technology to map all of their transformers, their electric lines, etc. And finally, the Internet of Things, having sensors, including the 8 billion strong human sensor network, on traffic, on stream gauges, on wildfire perimeters, earthquakes, etc. So getting these live feeds from people and also machine-based sensors out there on the landscape is feeding this ability for us to do several things. Namely, I want to map it now or as near real time as possible. I don't care about the wildfire perimeters from 2 years ago, unless I'm doing post-mitigation cleanup still. So there's a case for that. But increasingly, people want to map it now or as near real time as possible. So these three trends are bringing us to a perfect time to value spatial thinking in education and society. What are my top 5 skills for the geo-enabled future? For those of you watching this that are geospatial professionals, you're educators, you work with educators, you have kids, you have an alma mater, you have a street, a street near your house where there's a school and you care about that school. Whatever those, if you don't care about any of those reasons, what about your future employees for your own workplace? You care about where they're going to come from. If we don't pay attention to education, right, we're not going to have that workforce coming into your organization that's knowledgeable. First of all, I think curiosity, asking deep and rich questions and thoughtful questions, is important as we go forward. Being able to ask those questions. So I encourage you to watch, those of you that are watching this video, if you're a student, ask questions that your teacher or professor is not even asking you to ask. If you're an employee, ask questions that your boss is not even asking you to ask. Those are the kinds of employees that ESRI, my organization, and other organizations really and truly value. Go deep and ask questions. Be curious, though. Curiosity feeds your asking questions and also feeds your being tenacious about using the tools. I got to get this done because I'm really curious and I'm gonna solve this problem tonight with these tools. Ability to work with data. We always talk about the data explosion, big data world. It's truly here, and it's been here in terms of geospatial technology for a long time. Geospatial professionals have always been big data people, even if we didn't call ourselves that years ago. But being able to work with a large variety and volume of data is important in geotechnologies in particular. Remote sensing imagery. I talked about the Internet of Things, the sensor network, crowdsourced data, field tools, drone imagery, vector data, land cover data, population data, census data, agricultural data, etc., weather data. Number 3, understanding geographic foundations, map projections, scale, designing a geodatabase, going out in the field and collecting meaningful data, planning a field trip and what kind of equipment you're going to use and what methods and what units are you going to use, etc. Geographic foundations are important. Geodesy, the measurement of the planet Earth, the oblate spheroid that we're on right now. Being adaptable to new situations, new learning modalities, new ways of serving your geospatial data, sharing it in web mapping applications of various kinds, story maps, instant apps, etc. Adapting to new teams, new international venues if possible, and so on. Being a lifelong learner, I think, is important. And finally, being able to articulate why you're doing what you're doing and why it matters to your organization and what benefit it's bringing to your organization and to the greater society is important. You get your 30-minute, your 1 minute, your 5 minute, your 2 hour,